were five errors that endangered the Colossian church, which Paul will deal with in this chapter. They were number one, the enticing words, verses 4 through 7. Number two, philosophy, verses 8 through 13. Three is legality, verses 14 through 17. And four, mysticism, verses 18 through 19. And as asceticism, verses 20 through 23. These are still dangerous today. I think that most of us could sit down with this chapter and go through it to make an inventory of our spiritual lives. It would show us the direction which we're going. In fact, in Celebrate Recovery, we have, um, I think, a two-part spiritual inventory part one and spiritual inventory part two. There's two different lessons on spiritual inventory. A great many, even so-called Bible believers, have slipped into one or more of these errors. And that concludes that section. Now we're going to move on to the next section, which is verse 1. And this section is entitled Christ, the Answer to Philosophy. Verse 1. For I would that ye knew what great conflict I have for you, and for them in Laodicea, and for us, as many as have not seen my face in the flesh. Colossians chapter 2 and verse 1. Laodicea was near to Colossae. I have been to Laodicea, but not to Colossae. That is J. Vernon McGee. I'm reading through the Bible by J. Vernon McGee. It's McGee and not me. Yet I stood on the high point in Laodicea and looked across the Lycius Valley. There, alongside the mountains at the gate of Phrygia, which leads into the Orient, were the ruins of Colossae. It was a great city, but it was not nearly as great as Laodicea. In Laodicea was one of the seven churches in the book of Revelations. It was the church that is described as being lukewarm. Conflict is our word agony. McPhail calls this a prayer of agony. Paul saw that there was a grave danger in Colossae and in Laodicea, and it caused great conflict in the heart of the apostles. They were in danger of going off in one or two directions. There is still such danger, and we need a lot of agonizing prayer for the church today. This explains why we find the Laodiceans' lukewarm condition in the book of Revelations. They had lost sight of the person of Christ. Christ is the answer to man's head. He is also the answer to man's heart. For as many as have not seen my face in the flesh, Colossae is located about 200 miles inland from ancient Ephesus. When Paul came through that area, which he did twice, he did not come down to Colossae and Laodicea. Even when he attempted to go down to Asia on his second missionary journey, the Spirit of God forbade him. So he turned and took to the north route. Then, when he came on his third missionary journey, walking over the land, he again took the northern route, perhaps because he was already familiar with it. It is clear that he had not been to these cities because he writes, and for as many as have not seen my face in the flesh. This might be interpreted to mean that many new believers had come into the church since he had been there and that they had not seen his face. That meaning is highly unlikely. I think it means that Paul had never been there.